This is the High School Football America podcast for March the 13th, 2020. I'm Jeff Fisher. All right, heading to northeastern Pennsylvania, and as I always say when I get to do an interview with someone from my hometown state, you can take the boy out of Pennsylvania, but you can't take Pennsylvania out of the boy, and I'm proud to say that this young man is not only one of the finest football players in the nation, but one of the best wrestlers, and I'm even going to go as far as to say Southern Columbia is one of the best small-town sports communities in the nation. They were number one in the High School Football America national rankings over the last 2 years running, 3 straight state championships, and Gaige Garcia is on the line. He has won 3 titles on the football field, 2 gold medals in wrestling in Pennsylvania, which is, in my humble opinion, one of the best wrestling communities in the country as far as a state, and we're going to get through some of the other things that he's accomplished, but right now we want to bring him into the show here, and welcome to the show, Gaige Garcia. It's really nice to have you on here. I've been following your career, and it's great to speak to you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate being on.
Yeah, and I said to Gaige, folks out there listening, that I actually interviewed his father when his father won his 3rd Pennsylvania Wrestling Championship in the 90s. So you got an old guy on the line here talking to you. But let's talk a little football first, Gaige, which no doubt about it, when it comes to high school football, not only in Pennsylvania but in the nation, Southern Columbia has it, right? I had Coach Roth on last year, and he talked about how special it is there. From a playing standpoint, how special is it to play football at Southern Columbia High School?
To be honest, I don't even know if you realize it. Going to Hershey and winning state titles just is like another thing. It's like annual for the sporting program, but you don't realize how much actually goes into it. Coach Roth really built a foundation from scratch, and it's pretty amazing to be able to see what the program has evolved into. Being a part of 3 state titles and a runner-up, it's 1 state title is something kids dream about, let alone being in 3 of them or winning 3. So, it's pretty special. It's pretty amazing to say that you could be a part of those teams. So
yeah, and the community loves you guys. I mean, this isn't just it's a football team, it's a high school. I mean, this is a community deal, right?
Oh, absolutely. Our community is the best. We played our first game down at South Carolina, and we had thousands of people there making the drive, flying out. Every home game, every away game even. Our stands are packed. They're screaming loud. It's all the behind-the-scenes stuff as well, the fundraising, the banquets, and this and that. Our community does a tremendous amount of help for our program, and they support us a lot.
Talking to Gaige Garcia on the line, 3 state championships in football, 2 in wrestling, and Gaige, one of the things Coach Roth and I talked about, and that was before the season, before you made the trip to Hammond, was it was at a Mater Dei or a St. John Bosco or a Bergen Catholic, it's not unusual to have a lot of D1 players on the team. You're headed to Michigan, and we're going to talk about your multi-sport athlete attempt there, but how difficult was it to kind of put aside all the fact that everybody said, you know what, the Tigers have it this year. They've got Gaige Garcia, they've got Julian Fleming, they've got all this and that. Was that a distraction at all, or was it just, did it make you hungrier?
Oh, we just went out and played football. The whole entire team was relaxed. We really didn't get too stressed out. We just went out there every Friday night and just let loose. We played the game and enjoyed doing it. I think that was big for us. We really didn't get too attached to who we were playing and things like that. We just went out and played football like we knew how to, and I feel like that was very important for us and success. So.
Yeah. And Gaige walked away from the football field over 8,200 yards rushing, 138 rushing touchdowns. That's a state record. 159 overall touchdowns. That's a state record. Not much more you could have done there, that's for sure. So now let's switch it over to the wrestling mat. I mentioned at the top that your dad was a darn good wrestler at Mount Carmel High School, and tell me a little bit about the bloodline there. When it comes football, wrestling, was Dad kind of swaying you one way versus the other, or was it always kind of up to you guys?
Oh, it was definitely up to us. To be honest, my 4th brother doesn't even wrestle right now. He actually plays basketball. So, it was completely up to us. But kind of from what he built, winning 3 state titles and winning other things, we kind of looked up to him in that. And my brother Gavin as well. He's very successful right now in his high school career. We kind of took that on our backs to say, hey, our dad did it. Let's see if we can carry on this tradition. And, like you said, I ended with 2, he ended with 3, but, his wrestling background it did help me get to be a better wrestler just from the standpoint of, he did it and I can do it too. That's what he made me believe. So.
Yeah, and one of the things I wanted to ask you, and I had Dave Alexander on. He's a high school coach now in Oklahoma, but he played for the Eagles for years. And one of the things he talked about is he loves when his football players wrestle. He feels there's a great synergy between the two sports, that one helps the other. How do you feel about that?
Oh, absolutely. Wrestling is such a mentally and physically dominating sport. The workouts and stuff are hard, but that gets hard in every sport, the physical aspect of it. But the mental aspect is so draining. You really got to be in your A game for every match. And, you're overthinking your opponent. You're thinking about, can this kid beat me, this and that. It's 1-on-1. It's you and someone else on the mat. So, from that standpoint, wrestling really helps you out with life. And that carries over to football. Like all the things you overcome in wrestling, you get to overcome in football. It's like one guy said something, I think it was Dan Gable, once you wrestled, everything else in life becomes easy. And, I kind of truly believe that wrestling, it's not a very fun sport. It's very grueling, but yet, like you said, the football and wrestling aspect of it, football has a bunch of different aspects as well. Wrestling has a kind of a team sport, but football is mainly team. You're in the wrestling room every day with your partners. You're drilling hard with them. And I think that's where the football aspect comes into play with helping with wrestling, making the bonds, working as a team, and, trying to become a better athlete. So I think both of them going hand in hand, they definitely complement each other.
I love listening to Dan Gable speak and reading some of his stuff. He's a smart guy and one great wrestler, that's for sure. Gaige Garcia is on the line, Southern Columbia, Northeastern Pennsylvania, two-time High School Football America #1 team in the nation. He's now a two-time gold medalist in the state of Pennsylvania. And let me take you back to your sophomore year. I talked about all this success, but I bet you something that happened during that sophomore year, a loss in the semis, had a lot to do with the way you finished your career on a 98-match win streak, and you came so close to matching Dad. How much did that loss in the state semis back as a sophomore drive you through the last 2 years?
Even you just talk about it now, it still bothers me to this day.
Sorry about that.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good motivation, to be honest with you. That match, I was so upset. It was something that I just couldn't break the ice. My freshman year, I lost in the semifinals, and then here I am in the state semifinals as a sophomore, and I just needed to finish one takedown. That's all it was, just finish one takedown. I ended up losing in overtime. That was right there and then where I couldn't even match my dad, so it was kind of humbling. But, the statement I made, I told my coaches, I told my parents, I said, I don't think I'm ever going to lose again in wrestling. I said, I'm going to do whatever I possibly can to not ever feel that way again. I said, I'm definitely not going to be losing in Giant Center anytime soon. And, I kind of stuck with that. And that was kind of something I went with through practice, through training, through competing. The ultimate goal at the end of the year, I wasn't going to come up short of it. So
yeah, and you ended with 98 straight wins, nothing to sneeze at. But I bet you with a record of 163-6, you probably don't remember all of the 163s, but I bet you could tell me every little nuance of the 6 losses, right?
In about 5 seconds, yeah.
Anyway, we're talking to Gaige Garcia from Southern Columbia, just one of the finest all-round athletes. He's heading to Michigan, and you mentioned your brother Gavin a couple of minutes ago there, and again, you played on the football field with him. You got a chance to wrestle. Obviously, it's an individual sport, but you got the dual meets and all that. What was it like to compete on the same field or on the mats with your brother? That had to be kind of special as you close out your high school career to look back on that.
Absolutely. They say sports, you're with your brothers, like your other teammates, but he was actually my brother. I love him to death. I always want to see him succeed, but to be able to help each other succeed, win state titles together, that's very special. your bloodline working together to try to be the best possible. We're so competitive outside of sports, though. It's everything. If we went for a run in the morning, we're trying to race home the quickest, things like that. And I think that competitiveness throughout our lives, helped us succeed, helped us get better. We won, I think I won 2 state titles with him in football. Our team won last year for wrestling, a state title together. To be able to share that moment with him, that's very special. Not a lot of people can say they won a state title with their brother. So, it was a great experience. He's been terrific so far and helping win those state titles. So, it's been a great experience.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And one of the things I wanted to ask you, we talked about your dad, and you didn't get the 3rd title there. I'm sure maybe he's mentioned that, but I was going to go more to a positive thing, which is what's the best advice your dad gave you? You said he didn't, force you into wrestling and all that, but what are some of the things that your dad did for you that were father-like, not athlete-like, that really you think about all the time, and you're probably going to think about when you're in Michigan as you start your collegiate career?
I don't know if it's any exact quote or words, but every single day, no matter what I'm doing, he's always pushing me. Throughout my freshman and sophomore year, he was really hard on me. And, I think that's what's led to so much success as I matured throughout high school. He's tough on me with everything. Like, not a bad tough either. It's very good. He's, were you working hard enough, like this and that? Did you get enough work in today, And then the other aspect of it, besides the training stuff and working hard, is, he motivates you to believe you can be the best. He's like, you're the best. Go out. You can beat this guy, or you can beat this team. You can run for 200 yards on these guys. He's always putting that stuff in the back of your head. Go out there, be great. You know what I mean? Like, he's always putting positive thoughts in your head, not ever having any doubt of you. And, for him to believe in me, that's kind of big. And I kind of take that with pride and I'm always trying to impress him. You know what I mean? I'm always trying to, get his best interest and, make sure that I'm doing everything that he thinks I'm able to. So, taking that from that standpoint, he really wants me to work hard, but the other standpoint is making sure I can achieve my full potential. So
yeah, and what I remember of your dad, Dad Mike, winning those 3 state championships, and as I said, I remember interviewing him after the 3rd one, was kind of when he stepped out on the mat. He kind of had a little edge right there, right? He was just, there was a little bit of an aura about him. I know you probably never saw him wrestle, but do you think that sounds like your dad, a guy that kind of, when he stepped out there, the other guy knew that he was wrestling Mike Garcia, and there was more to it than just that name. There was a special something about him. I don't know if you've heard that, but
absolutely.
That's what I remember.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he has the mentality of he can beat anybody. He wrestled in high school anyway. Like, that was his mentality. He said, and I remember him telling me a few times, he goes, there was a point where I thought I can step on across the mat against anybody and I could beat them. And, there's a point to being confident, and there's a point to being confident because of your workouts, being confident because of everything you do in life correctly. Mm-hmm. So he was doing everything correct in life, and, his wrestling was getting to the peak of his performance, and his confidence, like you said, going out on the mat, he felt like he was going to be able to dominate whoever was across the mat. So, I kind of took that for a grain of salt, and I kind of went with that as well. So every little thing he did, I tried to, not just mimic, but like put my own little stance on it and learn from the mistakes he made, try to grow and do different things the way he wants me to, trying to go out and doing everything in his best interest. So.
Yeah, making Dad proud, no doubt about it. As we wrap things up here with Gaige Garcia, a couple of questions. Talking about being mentally tough and what wrestling does to get you to that point, the toughness you displayed on the football field. Now you got this thing that not a lot of athletes have done. You want to try and be a multi-sport athlete at the collegiate level, at Michigan, no less, in the Big Ten. Tell me a little bit about that decision and how that came about. Why Michigan? Was it about the fact that you had a chance to duel there with both sports, and what kind of came into that decision?
So, right away, I think it was the beginning of my junior year, whenever the wrestling can call, my phone was blown up with all the wrestling recruitments, coaches coming to my house, all the calls, all the mail from the wrestling side. But, in the back of my head, I wanted to play football. Like that seemed something that was more of my interest. You know what I mean? I kind of loved everything about football. And it was hard for me to tell the wrestling aspect or the wrestling coaches and stuff no, because I wasn't fully sure that I wasn't going to be able to wrestle. And I did it my whole entire life. I just didn't want to throw it away. So, I always hung on to the wrestling context and things like that. And I went down to Michigan for a camp. My football recruitment was good. I had a lot of very good offers, all the Ivy Leagues, the Patriot Leagues, Army, Navy, Air Force. But I was looking for that next step, the Big Ten. That was always my dream, to play in the Big Ten. And I went up to Michigan for a camp, and the coaches offered me, and I was all for it. My buddies and I actually had a talk, and we were like, if you had to pick a school right now, which would you go to? And I said Michigan at that time. Just playing in the big house, it seemed something special. So I loved my visit up there. And after I got offered, Harbaugh was like, you want to try wrestling and football? And I was like, dude, are you out of your mind? Literally, I was so shocked by it. He's like, have you ever talked to the wrestling coaches? I'm like, yeah, I actually talked to them. I said, but I kind of put them to the side because I was focusing on football. And he's like, well, would you like to talk to him? And I'm like, sure, yeah, we'll go talk to him. So I went over to wrestling facilities, and, they were all gung-ho for it as well. So Harbaugh was like, 2 Michigan coaches working together. It will be a great, attraction. It will be great for kids who don't really want to give up one sport. You know what I mean? Want to try to be multi-sport athletes. So, I kind of jumped on the idea, and, it's going to be very challenging. I don't even know if it can really fully work out, but, I'm going to be up for the challenge, and hopefully it will work out.
Yeah, well, as you said, there's discipline in wrestling, and hopefully that will come into play. So you figure that out. Who knows? Maybe just like at Southern Columbia, there, maybe we get a national championship in football and follow that up with a wrestling national championship, which would be pretty special. And as I close out here with Gaige Garcia, I have one question for you, and I think you kind of mentioned it, your love of football on that. But if you were 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, you're just kind of sitting on your front porch someplace and just, kind of dreaming and reminiscing about your time there with the Tigers and at Southern Columbia. What are some of the things that you think are going to come back to you and put a big smile on your face?
Winning, honest to God. Winning with the group of guys I won with. They're a very special group of guys. You can go down the list of what the kids or all the guys are going to colleges. They're all very successful. They all want to win. You know what I mean? They're a good group of guys who want to push you to become better. That's what I'm always going to think about when I think about that, the winning part of it, but winning with the group of guys. You win because they're so competitive. They want to do everything right. They want to do everything right in the classroom. They want to do everything right in life. And it carries over to the football field and the wrestling and that. So those guys being able to be good people, good athletes, you're revolved around that. And it's kind of like it spreads, you know what I mean? It spreads to, oh, this guy could be a state champ, so I think I can too as well. And everybody is positive and they're all trying to help each other. So when I look back on it, I was like, wow, I was really around a good group of guys that, all we did was win. So that's what I'll be looking back on.
Well, Gaige, it's been a pleasure to get to know you here. Like I said at the top, I was, I've done a lot of these interviews, as you can imagine, over 43 years, but having followed your career and seeing what you did over this last year has been really special. I just wish you nothing but success, not only, on the mat and on the gridiron, but in the classroom too. You got a lot ahead of you, but I think it sounds like you got a game plan, and if you got a game plan and you got some people that love you, I think you're going to be okay. So thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And don't forget, you can keep up with high school football news from around the nation every day by going to highschoolfootballamerica.com or following us on Twitter at HSFBAmerica. Also on Instagram and Facebook, our handle there is High School Football America. You've been listening to the High School Football America podcast. I'm Jeff Fisher.